Here I am again, Robin Da Vinci. How are you? Wherever you are. Um, I am here today to talk about the habits of highly successful people. And when I say successful, I don't mean money, although having a lot of money tends to make people think you're successful, but you always have to be successful as a human being before you're successful with money. And so I have in front of me on my other screen the definition of success, a couple of definitions that I'm going to read before I jump into this topic. The first one is the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. So, in other words, you can say, I wanted a beautiful garden, and you go out and you make a beautiful garden. That's a success. You wanted to get an A on a test. That's a success. You wanted to find a new job closer to home. You're a success. Those are the kind of things we discount because we think of success only in terms of money. Now, there's another one, the attainment of fame, wealth, or social status. That's considered success, but that would be in your own mind. If I saw you and you had a little home with a beautiful garden and you were taking care of yourself and had a car that ran and you were eating well, I would say you were a success. I would not say that you are not successful. I would say that the person who makes $12 an hour, pays all their bills, gets their children to school on time, pays their rent, has good friends and loving family. I would say they're a success. So, what it is, success is a mindset. As soon as you believe that success is only about money, you've discounted your entire life. Everybody does that. All of a sudden, I'm not successful because I don't have $1 million in the bank. I don't have a job that pays 250,000. I don't have an education. All those things that society has made you feel are successes. It's not true. Everything you do in life, when you put your feet on the ground, when you get out of bed and you make that day work for you, you're a success. But I'm going to tell you what people who feel they are highly successful, I'm going to let you know because let me tell you, I have so many people in my life that have achieved wonderful things and it wasn't all about money. But I'm going to give you what I consider to be the top five. And you can certainly disagree with me, or you can add five of your own, or you can tell me other things. This is just an overview of how I feel about highly successful people. So, the first one, and I've said this throughout my entire adult life, is play to your strengths. When we find ourselves struggling, it's usually in areas that we don't feel are our strengths. Oh, math isn't my strength. Oh, I don't like writing. Oh, I can't stay organized. I'm bad with time management. So you fit in with one thing, you narrow your scope and you don't do anything well. Well, when I say play to your strengths, that means find those things you do well, enjoy that you're successful at them, and then learn the other things. Put some time in. Playing to your strengths means that you free up time for the things you don't do well. Take a class, um, learn to sew, get out there and figure out bookkeeping, things like that, that you say, oh, I don't like to deal with money. I don't like it. I can't figure it out. Yes, you can. I'm saying to you, yes, you can. Let's say you're an incredible baker, that you can bake anything anybody throws at you, and people come to you all the time to bake cakes for special occasions. But you don't keep track of how much you spend on the cake. So even if they're paying you, you don't know if you're successful because you make a great cake, which means you're a successful baker. But if you're not doing the underlying things that count, like how much was the flour and the sugar and the eggs and the decorations and the cost of driving to the store, those are the things you can begin to learn to make baking even more successful. And you can apply that to almost any walk of life. If you have a sideline of fixing cars, but you don't keep track and you're good at fixing cars and everybody raves about you. So everybody says, "Hey, Al down the street is the best mechanic I have ever met. Doesn't matter what car it is." But Al the mechanic does not know how much he makes on every job he does because he doesn't keep track of the parts. He doesn't keep track of all the running back and forth to auto shops. He doesn't know, he undercharges, he doesn't value his labor. That's where the highly successful people have it over you. They not only play to their strength, but they back that up with knowledge about what their strength is. So if you get what I'm saying, I mean, like, I'm an accountant, but I know where I spend every penny. So I know what it's costing me. I do spreadsheets and tallies and stuff. And you can say, "Oh, well, she's an accountant. Of course she does." Well, yes, but I'm playing to my strength. And then beneath that, I'm doing all the underlying work. So, one thing, play to your strength and then learn about that strength. Learn about the economics of that strength, the time that it takes you to do that. Learn all those other things. How does it affect your family? Are you spending more time on it than you thought? I have someone in my life who's the most incredible hairdresser. Sometimes time management is their problem. They get caught up in a project or someone that they're working on, and they lose track of the time. And by that time, the amount of work they're doing isn't diminished, but what they're making on that job is diminished by how much time it takes. And people are not always respectful of your time. So remember, in this playing to your strength, not only do you need to find out how much your strength is costing you, but you need time management. And that's something most people don't have. Time management's a very tough thing. And so you need to set alarms. You need to say, "I need to do this car in this amount of time. I need to bake this cake in this amount of time. I need to do that project in this amount of time." And it will go to your work life, your home life, your special project life, your what do you call them? Your bad habits will become good habits, and then those kind of things that you call hobbies will take on a whole new meaning when your hobby is really in line with the rest of your life. So, number one, play to your strengths and then learn all the underlying parts of that strength of yours. Number two, always stay in the game. It is so easy. I know so many people who started off with a great idea, who started off with a new job, who started off in a new marriage, partnership, and life. And they had all this energy. And suddenly, when things got a little tough, or they didn't like how it was going, or they had to put in more time than they thought, or it was costing more than they thought, they quit or got lazy about it and said, "Well, I really want to do that business, but it takes so much time. And I didn't realize I needed all this structure. And I didn't realize that I had to buy this and I had to have this license or I had to do this." As soon as you start doing that, you're sabotaging yourself. When it gets tough, stay in the game all the time. That's why you have to play to your strengths, know them, love them, appreciate them, and orchestrate that success and then stay with it. Stop quitting. I know so many people that, well, I'm kind of old, but people younger than me that have tried out many things and have stopped doing it and just quit and gave up. And they gave up at the point where it was critical to stay in, put the time in, and they didn't. And they just said, "Skip it." No, human nature needs a challenge. Don't give up on your dreams because you get a little lazy or it gets a little hard. That is really one of the things that's so important. Stick with it. And where do you get the strength for that? You find someone who stuck with it too. You find someone who toughed it out. You find someone you admire. You get a mentor. You say, "I'm struggling. Can you help me?" There are so many people out there. And if you think you're in this alone, you're not. You can find a group of people that will support something you're doing. And let me tell you, sometimes we sabotage ourselves because of emotional triggers or something that happened in our life that makes us defeatists. Go get help. There are so many support groups so you can get over that hump and stay in the game. Please stay in the game. Don't give up. I ended up at 33, divorced with 3 little children, and I said, "I need to do something. What did I do before I got married and did this?" And I was in bookkeeping and accounting. I was in the business world, and I said, "I'm gonna have to go back to that. I'm gonna have to, you know, stick it out." And I have for 37 years, I've been in business. And I'm telling you that there were some tough times where I could have said, I'm throwing in the towel. And I had people saying, "Oh, do you really want to do that anymore?" And I said, "No, I'm sticking with it. This is my strength. This is what I love. And I'm going to stay with it and I'm going to stick to it." And I found CPAs and other accountants who could help me get over the rough spots. I put myself out there to find more work. Believe me, there is support for you out there, so stay in the game. Third, always track what you're doing. Don't go off on a tangent and say, "You know what? I'm going to build these beautiful things," and then not find the audience to sell them to. "I'm going to do this hobby and I'm going to try and make this work in a business. I'm going to make consignment money." And then you never go to stores and make contracts with them for consignment. Or my favorite thing to do is clean houses, but then you never get yourself attached to a cleaning service or start your own little company or find out how much the supplies cost, or do you have the right car? Do you have help? There are so many successful janitorial services that you could go work with and find out why are they so successful. And honestly, it's one of the most important jobs on the planet are people that are janitorial services for restaurants and hotels. They're the ones that keep the hotels and restaurants open. Office people, those are so important. People who file, all those things. You can find work, you can find success. And if you open your own business or you have that hobby, you have to track, how much does it cost me? Nobody wants to look at that. Where are all your receipts? How much time did it take you to drive out and get your hobby supplies? What did you do? Oh, I see so many people want to undercharge me for things. And I say, wait a minute. No, you did something amazing. You worked really hard on it. I'm going to pay you its value. And I know people's time is worth a lot of money and the talent they have versus the talent I have. I don't have that specific talent. When they do it, I appreciate it. Don't expect for yourself to be paid top dollar, but you want to undercut everybody else's price. No, no. Track your income, track your expense, make sure you're on top of all those things. Go research what your value is. And then when you get money in and you have to spend money, have it on a list, if nothing else. Make sure you know. So if someone says, "Gosh, if I hired you to do this, what would it cost?" I don't know. You can't say that. You can't say that. One of the top 5 things of highly successful people is they know their value and they know what things cost. So they track their income, they track their expense, and they see what their costs are. And that means even if you are the most fabulous housewife on the planet, do you know your value? Do you know what it's costing you to make meals for your family? Do you know all the talent you have inside that house and what it's worth? Don't ever underestimate your value as a mom or a dad or a breadwinner or the person that babysits. Do you know the value of childcare? To me, it's like top of the line, and people want to underpay the people who are taking care of their children. So you're a childcare person. What extras do you pay to be an educator or a childcare person? What are you taking out of your pocket to do that? You need to know. And the most highly successful people always know where their money went and what money came in. Always. Or the most highly successful hire someone to keep track of it. They play to their strengths and they hire someone like me to keep track of all of that so that every time they're doing a big project, they know what it costs. So far, what are we saying? Play to your strengths, stay in the game, keep track of your income and expense. Seems logical, right? Number 4, reinvent yourself when you need to. So let's say you make this one product and all of a sudden it caught on. I don't know what you would call it. You make the best patches for jeans that, in your neighborhood, and they sell like hotcakes at your local store. But then you find out that they're not selling so much anymore because there's competition. So what do? You duck out. No, you reinvent that patch. You come up with another product. You go and cost it out and see if you can have something else in your repertoire. If you're a hairstylist, you're a colorist. Do you need to be a great stylist and know how to cut hair? You go and get classes. In all these things, in all these places, there are classes available for you to learn how to do these things. They're online, they're not expensive, and you can update yourself, reinvent yourself to a bigger audience by just digging in and learning to reinvent yourself when it's necessary. You will find, you'll say, well, 3 years ago, that was the top restaurant in my city. And now nobody goes to it anymore. Well, they rested on their laurels. They didn't bring in a new dish. Maybe they didn't bring in a new chef, whatever. They forgot to reinvent. And why do I say reinvent? The public is fickle. You have to keep updating your skills. You have to keep upgrading what you know. You have to become valuable not only to yourself, but to others by what you know and what you do. So, reinventing yourself when things get a little bit tough, it's like if you're a plumber and you are a great plumber at fixing things and you have like a narrow niche and you find that there are other plumbing companies coming out with something more elaborate than what you do. You need to go get a class because I can tell you there'll be plumbers say, if they don't want to hire me, too bad. They don't like what I do. I don't need them. And then their plumbing business starts to die. Why? Because they quit. They didn't probably keep track of their stuff. They didn't play to their strengths and then learn the rest of it. And then they didn't reinvent themselves and add a new tool, add a new project, add a new talent. Like I can not only fix your plumbing, but I'm also a drywaller. Do you know how many plumbers need to go in and fix the wall after they've done plumbing and some of them walk away? And the ones that get the jobs are the one that will do the repair on the wall plus do your plumbing? Now, I know you know this because I know you've all had to hire people. Somebody who fixes your car and then can remove dents, someone who sews your clothes and then can show you accessories to them, someone who can not only color and cut your hair and style it, but knows product. You know what I'm talking about when I say reinvent and add to your repertoire. That is another one of the most important things. And fifth, do not judge yourself by what someone else is doing. Learn from it. We always judge and go, I can't keep up with them. You're not trying to keep up with them. You're trying to be your most successful self. Hey, I cannot compete with great big CPA firms or firms that are overseas that give out their labor to people overseas. I can't compete with that. I try to hire people in this country and pay the wage that's fair for this country. But I do know that in essence, I could lose people because they'll send it overseas to cut, a couple thousand out of their budget. So I've had to reinvent myself, and we have more ways of presenting ourselves and more gifts to present and streamlined ways of doing accounting in order to compete in that world. But we don't just fold up our tent and go home. We don't just say, no, I can't be there. So you have to not judge yourself by what they're doing. You have to look at yourself, assess yourself, and compare yourself to what you were doing 2 years ago. Have you done stuff to elevate yourself to a place where you can be more competitive? That's what you do. Until you've got your house in order, you don't look over and see what everybody's doing and say, I quit. You look over and say, wow, I can do that. And then you elevate yourself. And then you start to compare and look around something that's comparable. You don't have a little neighborhood auto shop comparing themselves to Auto Nation. You don't do that. You don't do stuff like that. If you're a person that goes to people's houses and washes their cars and details their cars for them, do you know what a great service that is? Somebody at a car wash can't do that. Now, the car washes might say, uh-oh, we are losing business to the people that will go to the home. We better come up with something else. Think you're getting my drift. So that person who has a few people in their stable that can go out to other people's cars and do the detail, have a streamlined way of doing it and a price that is competitive, they're going to have a business that is successful. Then in a few years, guess what? Someone else may come along and add another thing. So you always have to be looking at what you do, elevating your work, elevating what you can do, seeing what the cost is, and trying to implement. So judging yourself against someone who is not your equal will never help you succeed. You cannot do that. It was there are people who are really good students, but they don't test well and they get C's or B's. And they think, well, that kid over there is always getting A's. So why do I bother? Why do you bother? It's because you're being your best self. That's why you bother. Always be your best self. I used to say, do not look at what other kids are doing until you know you're doing your best. Then go see what you think the best kids are doing. But until you know you're working at your best, don't start judging yourself against other people. It won't work. It won't work until you've reached your best or what you think is your best. Then you can go, oh, I'm doing this. Are they doing that? That's how it works at every stage in your life until you take your last breath. Are you being the best you can be? So let's recap. Play to your strengths, learn all the underlying things about your strength. Stay in the game, don't get lazy or quit. It won't suit you. As soon as you sabotage yourself, you've lost. Always track income and expense. Get that inner bookkeeper working because that's really important. The most highly successful people always know what their income and expense are and can always, almost off the top of their head, bid out a job, small or big. Reinvent yourself when you need to. There is a world out there and there's people just like you with great ideas. When you need to, assess and reinvent yourself. And number 5, don't judge yourself by people that are not in your comparable world. You have to stay in your realm until you either elevate and reinvent and bring someone on or however you do it. But don't get down on yourself and start to judge. It just won't work. It will only hurt you. So, my name is Robin Da Vinci, and I'd love you to like and subscribe to my channel. I have tons of information for you at robindavinci.com. I've written a book, it's on Amazon, Common Sense Guide to Taking Care of Your Money. I always forget the title of my own flipping book, The Common Sense Guide by Robin Da Vinci to Managing Your Money, Things You Were Never Taught as a Child that you should have been taught. And it's on Amazon. And believe it or not, they kind of grouped me with some big heavy hitters, which was a real elevation for me. So I consider that book a success because of where they put me in Amazon. So anyway, I'm telling you the truth. I'm 70 and I've been in business for 37 years and I ran a household on a shoestring. I know what I'm talking about. So thank you for listening. I care. Ask what you need. I'd love your comments. It's always good to talk to you.